Tonight's main news then, Prince William and Kate Middleton are to marry next year. No wedding date has yet been set. Prince William said he'd given Kate, his mother, Diana's engagement ring to ensure his mother didn't miss out on today and the excitement. He also said the couple felt that after their long relationship, the time was right.
Planning it for at least a year and if not longer. It was just finding the right time, and that was what, as most people say with couples, it's all about timing. And I had my my military career, and I really wanted to concentrate on my flying, and I couldn't have done this if I was still doing my training. So I've got that out of the way, and Kate's in a good place in terms of work and where she wants to be and stuff, and we just both decided now was a really good time.
Well, will any of it actually be relevant to modern Britain? What's really at stake? Joining me now, the writer and Catholic commentator Christina Adoni, Diran Adebayo, novelist and chronicler of modern Britain, and Nick Pearce, director of the think tank, the Institute for Public Policy Research. I mean, let's just start with who cares? I mean, who's going to care about this?
You're wrong. You're wrong.
I'm not saying nobody is. I'm asking you.
They do care. And what's so interesting is that although individual members of the royal family may be popular with the public one day and unpopular with them the next, at stake is this understanding of Britain as a royal entity, a kingdom. And it is not only the way that Britons perceive themselves, but it is the way the outside world continue to see Britain as the kingdom, as the place where these spectacles, these incredible weddings take place, and everybody celebrates, and it's fantastic. It's fairy tale, love story, and royal.
I mean, will it chime the way Charles and Di do?
Well, very few people in Britain are either ardent monarchists or ardent Republicans, but everybody will have to care about it because it will just be all over our popular culture, all over our TV screens. I mean, one of the roles politically of the monarchy is to symbolise and embody the unity of the nation. And what's interesting about today is that Alex Salmond has said this was a marriage made in St Andrews. The Welsh First Minister has said we welcome them to Anglesey when they're married. The wedding will be in London. You only need Belfast to have a full house there. And the real issue is whether they can continue to function as a symbolic embodiment of the unity of the United Kingdom, not least because we have nationalists now in power in Scotland and Wales, rising sense of Englishness, and the tendencies for the union to pull apart, if you like, although they can be exaggerated. The monarchy kind of offsets that. It's quite an important role it has.
Do they speak to a different generation in any way? I mean, do they seem remotely modern to you?
Relatively. I mean, I think they seem modern partly because they're caught up in this wider celebrity sort of machine. To that extent, they're, pictures of William and Kate have appeared in all the right sort of celebrity magazines, and they're part of the wider general things. And
so they're part of celebrity rather than something special?
Well, they're part of...
That's monarchy, you mean?
They're also part of monarchy, but as Nick was mentioning, I'm not sure that people are all that excited about the monarchy aspect of things. It's certainly true, as Christina says, that the monarchy is still very important to outsiders in the way that they think Britain is still a country of bowler hats and red tops. And interestingly, the modern side of Britain has never sold well abroad to those kind of outsiders who like. They prefer old Britain.
Aren't they basically quite like the older generation? I mean, they don't seem that different in the way they... I mean, maybe they've got modern idiom, but what they're saying, what they really represent... Kate Middleton, this girl who's nearly 30, never had a proper job, she's going to be a princess now. What does that say?
She's a middle-class girl who works for her family business, very appropriate. She is... most importantly, she is Cinderella. She is the girl who had the poster of the Prince Charming up in her room, and then she married him. And I tell you, it is a narrative that appeals.
She denies that, doesn't she?
No, it is a narrative that appeals universally. And there's no Republican sentiment that can deflate that moment. And it will play beautifully during a recession. I mean, remember, 1981, when we had the first engagement, we were entering a really bad recession. Margaret Thatcher had just come in, things were looking very gloomy, very dark, and we loved the wedding. Why? Because it was a celebration.
I mean, one of the interesting things about her mother's ring, his mother's ring is being used, is it symbolically passes on Diana's sort of spirit, and in Blair's famous phrase, the people's princess, this embodiment of a sort of popular culture that they're hoping that the monarchy can now take forward.
It's a bit spooky.
Well, it is.
No, it's caring, sharing.
I mean, I think the thing about it is that, in a sense, it tries to overcome some of those class divisions. She stood as a bit of an outsider, anti-establishment. They're trying to show that, through this process, that they can represent popular aspiration in a wider sense.
They don't strike me as modern as all that. I've been very interested in Prince William's sort of Africa connection. Obviously, that I see a link obviously with his father, who was, for whom Lawrence Ranta Post, a South African, was his mentor. And it feels to me that they slightly have that same old, if you like, colonial attitude to Africa. I was very interested that when Prince William had his themed Africa party, there were no Africans present. I'm not surprised that Kenya is their favourite country. Kenya, or Kenya as they might still call it, was always known. It was like India and the British Raj. In Africa, it was known as the place most loved by British people. You got good service in Kenya or Kenya. And
is that a cheap shot? I mean, it's sort of,
It's a cheap shot, and I was born in Nairobi, and I tell you, we didn't have any servants. But I think that the thing that we're losing sight of here is that it is a love story. And what is fantastic is where we had a fairy tale love story with Diana and Charles, where we had this kind of mythical virgin, we had this incredible, Earl's daughter. She had blue blood, she had see-through skirts. It was all kind of iffy and fairy tale. This girl is real. This girl is a modern girl, and she really wants, the ultimate ambition, which is to get married to the man she loves. And it's just going to play beautifully for all of us.
What about this whole question of sort of how they strike the right tone next year? I mean, people are going to be losing their jobs. It's going to be austerity Britain. There's going to be, the obvious comparisons of how much the gold carriage costs to maintain compared to the, will people care about that, or does this sort of transcend all of that?
I don't think that people care that much. They didn't seem to care about the Olympics when it came to Britain, the cost of that. And I think there should have been more of a discussion about that, because I'm not sure how much money, how you can justify spending all that much money and probably not leave much of a legacy. But this is going to be a one-off occasion, one day, and people are going to want to celebrate, because people tend to celebrate on their wedding days.
People want ritual. They want ritual. And they've never been a bicycling monarchy. They're not Scandinavian in that sense. They've always embodied, well, whatever you make of it. I mean, and they will actually be careful not to look too ostentatious, because it is a bit of a recession. But it won't be frugal in the sense that people won't pare down on the ritual.
But isn't the basic problem for him that he's decades off being king? So we don't really know where to place him.
But that's why it's important for the monarchy, because they invest a lot of aspiration for the future in him, in this wedding. He can carry a lot of the symbolism for the monarchy in a way that his father can't. And of course, that's very powerful politically for them.
And it's not only powerful politically, but this is a very important commercial proposition. The monarchy costs about £35 million. It brings in 226 million. With this wedding, that 226 million is going to go soaring high. Tourists from all over the world will be buying royal memorabilia. They'll be pouring in here. Forget the Olympics. This is going to be the big
do you see this
thing.
renewing the monarchy and its place constitutionally, if you like?
Yes, I think there's never been a question about the monarchy's constitutional role, but it did suffer a big political hit during the aftermath of Diana's death and various events that followed, and that this is part of its rehabilitation and reinvention, and I think they will want to connect with the kind of currents of popular sentiment that are expressed in these days and these occasions.
And do you think this monarchy can hit all sections of society? I mean, you look at sort of Princess Margaret's death, the Golden Jubilee. These were all very successful royal events that captured, a huge section of public mood, but perhaps not a full cross-section of public mood.
Well, I think when Diana died, we saw the great upwelling of emotion across British society. It was notable for the number, for example, of Africans who were sort of weeping and ululating generally when she died outside Kensington Palace. And I see no reason why this shouldn't touch large sections, because it hits so many bases. You said the celebrity thing. There seems to be an increasing wish for people who have no, if you like, relation to the celebrity in question to want to be part of it, be it befriending a celebrity on Facebook, be it being part of any big publication. And this will be that to the max, I think.
We must leave it there. Thank you all very much indeed.